Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of the Tragics. Great to have your company for another week. Let's talk some VAFA football as we are every week, joined by Nick Armistead at the desk. Nick, how are you?
I'm very well, Lenny, and how sharp are you looking in the suit for the first time, I reckon, in about 3 years of Tragics?
Yeah, well, I thought I'd better lift the
lifted
standard.
it.
I don't know if it was Lockie Dornoff or some of the others.
George Burberry
looking pretty sharp on the show.
Yeah.
I think maybe we've got to lift the standards a little bit. I can't have you being the one getting all the credit for wearing the jacket.
I'm quite welcome to the club. I'm quite happy you've come on board.
Now, what game of footy did you go and watch on the weekend?
I actually didn't go and watch a game of football on the weekend.
What?
For the first,
that's your job.
I know. For the first time in 3 years I missed. I actually was back home in Gippsland. I had my brother's gender reveal for his first baby.
Sorry, what's that?
A gender reveal. So they basically smash a cake and jelly beans will fall out. And if it's blue, it's a boy, and if it's pink, it's a... I know. I realise what I've done.
And so was that exciting? Was it? Tell me about the moment. Was it as exciting as when St BMT Tigers won at the final siren to win their second game of the year by a point, or when Beaumaris have beaten Caulfield Grammarians by a point?
I can't imagine it was as exciting. I was on live scores the entire time. And
so just tell me about the moment, the build-up. So we're about to do it now.
So
You've got some footage here?
I've got some footage here that I'll show you. I did film Chris and Diane doing it and giving a bit of a speech, and then they've got the hammer, smashed the cake, and the blue beans came
Why
out.
don't you cut the cake?
Nah, they smash it because it's made of hard chocolate.
Okay.
And they've just gone bang, and the blue beans, so the Armistead legacy will live on because it is a boy, which is great news. It was unfortunate. It was probably the best round of VAFA football so far this year.
So for a change, I've watched more footy than you this weekend.
Correct.
Let's get into the highlights. The first highlights I've seen from a couple of games. I'll tell you what, if you take a screamer, you're going to feature on the Tragics. Stephen Tahana from St BMT Tigers took this ripper in the game against Old Zaz at Brindisi Street. We're going to talk plenty about that game. Josh Cowan's our special guest. He's going to come in and talk about that, about St B's getting their second win of the year. But Steve Tahana, well done. And then David Hollyoake from OM's apparently heard the news and thought he'd go one better. I think this is actually a better mark, and off the halfback flank. But
you know what it was?
Outstanding to see high flying marks.
It's the commentary along with Tahana's that adds.
True.
To it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'll tell you a little secret. About 4 years ago, when I was working at the VAFA, we're doing Mark of the Year. The commentary through a couple of speckies through a couple of games, and you know how not all games are broadcast. So to make them a little bit better for the highlights package, I did fake commentary on some of the. Fake commentary on the marks, but actually pretended to call it like a real game and did fake commentary. Made it sound a lot better. And
you're actually a commentator, so it would have actually been good.
What was your highlight from the weekend?
Division 3 women's Westbourne Grammarians. Now, they were struggling a few weeks ago. They'd only won 2 of their first 8 games. We've got a couple of new recruits, and they've had 2 massive wins against the MCC and South Melbourne District. Now, the MCC one particularly, they lost by 103 points earlier in the year, so it was a bit of about 150-point turnaround, and they kicked the highest score of the year so far in women's football, 167 points against South Melbourne on the weekend.
Highest score ever, possibly?
I would say probably. I'd have to look through.
Yeah, last year I think it would be.
Yeah, I reckon it would be too. 125-17, 167, massive.
Unbelievable result there for Westbourne Grammarians. On to William Buck Premier section. There's plenty of action as we mentioned. We'll talk some beads and zabs that game later on the show, but Scobbs and Old Trinity, a 3-point result. Pretty impressive stuff from the Tees, but they couldn't quite get the job done.
Yeah, excellent result, I think, from the Tees, although they will be disappointed, given they were up by a point at 3/4 time. Inaccuracy was probably what killed them in the end. They had 7 extra scoring shots than Scobb. They kicked 8-11, but Scobb was straight, kicked 10-2, and when the chips were down, Scobb do what Scobb do, and kicked 3 goals.
Good to see the Tees respond, though, and come back. Jack Hunt played his 150th game. Outstanding service to that club, and congratulations to Jack. Anthony Scott missed, which would have been a big out for them.
Huge out. Now, Anthony Scott was playing reserves for GWS, as I understand, on the weekend, and he might be doing that for the next 2 weeks as well. So if they've missed him for 3 weeks in a row, that will hurt their chances because he is in absolutely outstanding form.
Be a great story if he does make an AFL list eventually after his a couple of years at Collingwood, VFL.
Richmond.
VFL. Old Scotch and Old Brighton, the Cardinals won their 4th in a row.
They are in outstanding form, and look, I know that we both apologised basically last week because we'd written them off earlier in the year, but they are in fantastic form. It was their
They're going to play finals.
They're not going to play finals.
No, they could play finals.
They could play finals. No, to be fair, they could play finals. It was their most dominant performance so far this year.
We backflip more than politicians do on this show.
We do, and I do it from article to this to everything else. Harry Larwell, how good's he playing up forward at the moment? 7 goals. Matty Seed kicked 4, and our boys Nicky Jamison and Jack Bull were absolutely outstanding. Old Brighton, which we'll touch on later, missing a lot of key players though.
Yeah, getting their suntans worked on in the warmer climes at the moment. University Blues had a win against De La Salle. De La right in the thick of the bottom situation now. Only 3 wins for the year. Blues get that bit of separation, which is helpful for them.
I think, how scary would it be? Now, Blues are now only a game outside the 4, and they have not played well, and they'll be the first to admit it this year. But if they can scrape in the 4th...
Well, they play Old Trinity this week. They beat them, they're in.
They're in.
They go past Old Trinity.
Unless Old Melburnians win, but yeah, absolutely. And so, but how scared would you be? You wouldn't be happy going up against the Blues if they're starting to hit their straps come finals. With Ace Cordy there, we obviously know what Ross Young and the rest can do. But they're a scary team if they get going. Yeah,
I just think they've left a little bit wanting for this year. Collegians OMs, I want to take a look at this game a bit more closely, Nick. Yep. Early on, particularly the tactics of OMs in the first quarter. 25-metre penalties. Are they giving them away as a tactic, as a tactical ploy to help get defensive numbers back? So you can see a couple of examples here. Collegians player has the ball, just an innocuous 25-metre penalty given away by overrunning the mark almost on purpose there. We don't know this for sure, but I'm just assessing whether it's the case or not.
It looks as though that's the case, though.
Yeah, there's certainly no umpire abuse or anything like that, just running over the mark, maybe knocking the ball out of the hands of the player. But I'm not sure why you do it still. Surely you're running back.
It gives you more time. It gives you more time, and it slows them down from defensive 50, so they break out.
The last one there was in the defensive 50, so it's already a hard place to get out of defensive 50.
But they're just making sure they're
pushing them up to half back.
But does this make the case for increasing to 50 metres even stronger?
Well,
penalties.
You couldn't do it purely because of the size of the grounds that some clubs play on. Brindisi Street, 50 metres is half the ground. I know, it's a strange one. Missing a couple of key players there, OMs, though.
Yeah, Josh Fraser and Tom Paul, they've been their best 2 players so far this year. They're outstanding Big V players, so they're 2 massive outs. But it was good to see Tom Cameron back, though, after a long stint on the side.
I want to show something from him. Actually, no, let's have a look at this now. You've raised it. Tom Cameron, he's back in the side. I forgot about this one. In the 4th quarter, the game's done at this point, but this is probably indicative of OM's day at the moment, and maybe their form. Kick goes across the defensive 50. Tom Cameron running back across the face of goal there with the flight of the ball and runs right into Tim Marshall. Yeah, not a good look, but anyway.
No talk there, boys?
And maybe just signs of how they were going on the day. You can have bad ones every now and then. In Premier B, I reckon the bad ones was to the men in green on this day, just particularly in the last minute of the game or so. Caulfield leading Beau Morris by 5 points. Ball, at the top of the goal square for Beau Morris, so they're in with a chance of scoring here, but their chance of scoring was made all the more easier by this holding the ball decision. Nick, what's your take?
Well, I don't think it was a holding the ball decision, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Ryan Harris has been dealt a bit harshly there. Matt Pettering obviously grabs him here, and I don't know how much prior opportunity he had there, and it did look like he was trying to get rid of it, even though he didn't have disposal of the ball when he was on the ground, but...
I'll tell you one thing, they're never trying to get rid of it. So the whole faking of trying to get rid of it, so I'm okay with that.
I get that, but look, that was 3 minutes to go. That put them up by a point. They held on after that, so that actually did decide the game.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the big questions later on as well, about what the ramifications of that game. St Bernard's beat Old Haileybury comfortably at the Snake Pit. They're going great guns, the Burnies.
Yeah, they're absolutely flying at the moment. The Snake Pit, they're not going to lose there. They weren't even without Tom Sullivan and a couple other big names on the weekend, so they're just absolutely flying. But Old Haileybury, another team that have been hurt by the European summer. They've got about 6 players out.
The Blacks couldn't quite do the double over Monash Blues with 100-point wins this season, but it's combined about 250 points over Monash Blues.
That was my worst case scenario last week too, was that they'd cop another thumping, and unfortunately that is exactly what's happened.
In Premier C, Fitzroy probably shored up a top 2 spot by beating Old Geelong by 4 points at Como Park. A good win for the Roys.
Yeah, it's good. It's always hard playing at Como Park because it's such a wide ground. It's so much different to most VAFA grounds. They led by 16 at 3/4 time, kicked the first goal to put it out to 22 points before Old Geelong came back with 3 straight to Matty Bird and 2 to Josh Hutley, but neither side could control it in the last 8 minutes.
And Prem C, the Wellers are just absolutely flying as well. That's probably the other takeaway out of Prem C.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're going to play finals. They've now won 5 in a row. They beat Marcelin, who are also on a 4-game winning streak, but they are looking very good. Nick Adamson up forward, dominating, and Benny Hart, our boy from last year, Zachariah medalist, playing very well.
Plenty of footy still to come on the Tragics. As I mentioned, Josh Cowan's going to join us shortly, but next up we're going to talk women's footy with Lucy Lekic. Back in a moment.
Anytime is the right time to get fit at Anytime Fitness. Access over 400 gyms across the country 24/7 and discover why more Australians train at Anytime Fitness than any other gym. Go online and register now for your free 7-day pass and feel something better.
Welcome back to the Tragics. As I mentioned before the break, we're talking women's footy, and Lucy Lekic is here to tell us all the latest from VAFA Women's. What's happening, Luce?
So, in a highly anticipated clash, we had Melbourne Uni and Q. So, getting to the pointy end of the season at Melbourne Uni Oval, 16-point win to Melbourne Uni. So, the match, it was very close, neck and neck, the entirety of the game. And Q actually got off to a pretty firing start, kicked the first couple of goals. But, you know, Melbourne Uni had that home ground advantage and came back.
So how much does the home ground advantage play a part in this? Obviously, neutral venues come finals time. Are Q a chance to roll the Muggers?
I think so still. You know, I think they're still a bit inexperienced in this league in particular. Melbourne Uni is such a long-standing team. And, you know, as we've spoken about previously, Melbourne Uni have that star-studded lineup.
It probably would be more of an advantage for Melbourne Uni though, wouldn't it? Because they've been around for a lot longer than a lot of the other teams, so they've played a lot more footy.
Well, Q played Northern Footy League last year, didn't they?
Yeah, and they played before that as well into the VWFL. But not every team. Like you look for Marcelin, they've been around for 2 years, so it is a bit more of a home ground advantage playing at Uni Oval.
Superstars.
Yeah, well, it's not. Well, they're good, but it doesn't mean they've got the home ground advantage that the Uni girls have.
True. A lot of the Uni girls still haven't played a lot of footy. You know, they're in their first and second years.
Yeah,
so
correct.
There's the same number of times. I think we're talking moot points, talking in circles here. What was your other takeaway from the weekend? How'd you go on the weekend?
Obviously I played for Caulfield. We played Scob, so Scob actually got a bit of revenge on us. We beat them early in the season.
Your sole win early in the year?
Yeah, our sole win early in the year, which I, of course, didn't play in.
Yep.
So
we can't quite call you the difference just yet.
No, you can't, because I had 3 shots right in front of goal, actually, and took 3 marks in the 50 and in the very...
So 3 goals straight?
Nah, 3 behinds. So straight in front, and the very first set shot, Eliza Strafford, a Scob player, quite a...
Big V representative.
Bit of an in and under tough player. She's I'm lining up and she's behind me about 5 metres saying, wait. And I sort of like, you know, it's my first set shot ever. So I was looking at her like, well, what, is play stopping? But no, play was actually going on. And she got in my head. I looked at her and I said, what? And I looked back, of course missed it. And then I had 2 from an identical position and missed both of those also. So she did her job, didn't she?
She certainly did. The old, hang on a second, mate. Wait.
Stitch up.
Yeah, it works a treat. And you do it like just before they're about to kick as well.
She did it, and exactly. It worked.
So you'll know, playing a bit more forward, a bit closer to goal now?
Yeah, they put me in full forward. I had a week off because I had the flu, so they thought maybe a little less running might do me good, but then I sort of requested to get put back in the thick of it.
Where do you like playing the most?
I would love to play midfield more, but obviously I don't have the biggest engine. They like to put me in the ruck because I'm quite tall, but I get stitched up in the ruck, especially against the Scob girl, Alexandra Hines. She got 47 hit-outs. And she just...
That's nice of you to spruik that.
And they don't check the stats at all, do they, the girls?
No, they do.
How quickly after the game are the girls on their phones checking the stats?
You've asked me this before, and the girls who do have the app check it quite regularly. And,
we're talking half-time? We're half-time checking? Any half-time
They were early in the season, but I don't have... I'm not sure at the moment.
Well, tell us a bit about Scotch Stars then. They had their first loss of the season.
Yeah, Scotch have succumbed to their first loss against the second-placed Beaumaris Sharks. So that... sort of even out the ladder a bit more, and that was unexpected. And so Bowie is second now, 7 wins. Scotch got 9 wins, and Old Brighton's got 7 as well. So it's sort of making the finals race a bit closer.
Yeah, it's massively wide open now, and we're getting close now. Only a few weeks ago, first weekend in August.
Yep.
So
final
4
weeks left. Yep.
Yeah, good stuff.
4 weeks left.
Good on you, Luce. We'll catch you next week.
See you next week.
Lucy Lekic joining us there. After the break, Josh Cowan's going to be here. He's our special guest from St Bede's Mentone Tigers. Welcome back to the Tragics. As I mentioned before the break, we're joined for the first time this year, but for the second time ever on the Tragics, Josh Cowan from St Bede's Mentone Tigers. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Thanks
Good
for having me
on. Why are you worried about being on for the second time?
First time ever, and I'm sure Thursday night comes around, it'll be a bit of fun.
What got you over the line tonight, coming on? You obviously enjoyed it the first time round.
Nah, I couldn't get anyone else. So he messaged me last night, and I tried to get someone, but it wasn't going too well.
Coming in after a win must be nice.
Yeah, especially when you haven't won since round 1. It was interesting. Like we we believed we could win a few of the games we lost, and well, obviously that didn't happen. But we felt okay, and then we finally got a bit of luck off our own back on the weekend, which was good because it had been well overdue.
The scenes at the final siren are just what we love about football. I mean, the celebrations, even Dean Porter on the mark there, just loving it.
I don't think I've seen that emotion. You should I was filling in the hole as he took the mark and the siren went, and you just literally saw from the wall to the fence. You should just a massive people going across. Just means how much it means to the club, just not just the players as well.
What about Saturday night then? Did the celebrations roll over into anything special?
Yeah, it was a bit of a lock-in till it was a bit of fun. So
that's why I responded to Nick's text yesterday. Struggling a bit.
Yeah, so it was.
He got you at a good time.
Yeah, Sunday was a bit of a struggle, but no, it was well worth it.
All right, so there were a couple of highlights from the game. Obviously, Stevie Tahana's mark, which you alerted me to, which was very thankful for. But what about a couple of minutes later, where one Joshua Cowan just gets it out of the fence, runs up and I think you spoil it and then you snag it from outside 50?
Yeah, and probably a little bit further outside 50.
It was a great goal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Tahana. When Tahana took his mark, I was in front of him and I literally was like, wow. Like I just started it was one of those ones where you're just watching it live and just going, this kid's pretty special. Like he's a massive recruit for us, which has been fantastic.
Tell us through the goal.
Oh, come on.
We don't have enough time for that.
What does it do for the rest of the season? So 7 games to go. Can you get the 3, probably 4 wins you might need out of those 7?
I reckon it sets us up really well. If I reckon Zavs would have been thinking that if they won that one, we were done. But now we have a really good belief amongst the group. Like we've been training it, we've been working pretty hard over the last couple of weeks. Training's changed. Like we've made changes in our training, like the way we train as players. And it was just due reward, and now we just got to hope that it rolls in. We think Brighton's pretty winnable this week, which is fantastic. Gives a bit of momentum going into the bye, and then Trinity at home the week after is fantastic.
Did you feel you're a little bit unlucky? You've had, 5 games under 3 goals, 5 losses under 3 goals.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky. But at times our players weren't good. Like we weren't good enough ourselves. The coaches gave us all the tools, and then when the moment came, we either didn't do it, or other sides got a couple of lucky moments, whether it's decisions or they just the ball would land in blokes' arms and they'd be 30 metres out, which is luck or however you want to call it. But yeah, there was definitely times where we felt like, is this going to happen? And we were sort of talking after the game. Tom Garside and I were saying that it would have just summed up our season if Nath Smith had gone on, and the siren probably would have gone, and we would have the time would have elapsed, and we would have lost by 4 points.
What do you mean when he took that mark 10 minutes out?
Yeah, so
there was talk in the commentary watching it that he should have played on and run into the open goal.
I'm happy he didn't, because I didn't know how long was to go. We thought it was 27, 28 minutes deep. I was comfortable with him going back because if I was him and I had played on and the siren went, I don't reckon I'd be able to live with myself. I would have been in a dark place on Saturday night. But yeah.
How big's he been since coming to the club this year? Because I know he's played a few VFL games.
Yeah, which is good for him. Obviously you want your VFL boys to play VFL when they can, and then you get them as a bonus. Kicked a couple of bags of 5, almost won us a game against Trinity as well. We had a pretty good day that day. I think he had 6 shots on goal for 1 goal. And then all of a sudden, he kicks 5 and we win, pops up for 5, which is fantastic.
So for you, a couple of years in the top flight now, after spending a long time at Mazenod, what's the biggest difference? And you're more accustomed to it now. What's the difference of why you guys haven't been able to win as many games as you would have liked this year when you're playing in that top section?
It's a tough one, because you look at sides that drop back. You look at St Bernard's, Blacks, Carey, especially they're the 3 at the top of B grade, and you can see the golf in class. And even Bowie, when they were hot at the start of the year, there was a big golfing class between the top of B grade and the bottom of B grade. And we sort of talking about this the other day actually, and saying how people understand how hard it is once they get to A grade, that they want to stay in A grade, so they recruit. But then the people coming up are just as good and they want to recruit as hard. So I think it's more they're looking for outside talent. The abolishment of the development leagues made a massive difference, because there's guys that have got super talent that were fringe players and really good development players last year who are now dominating A-grade footy or even B-grade footy, which is really important. So that's probably the depth in the competition and the guys coming up is probably the most important thing.
Now, everyone's saying it's a 2-horse race this year. Collegians and St Kevin's are that far and above, is what we're hearing and what we probably say ourselves. Who's the toughest opponent you've played so far this year?
We had our worst game against D-Lut. We had a few changes that day, so we could have gone over the line against St Kevin's. Collegians were very good 2 weeks ago, around 10. So probably Collegians was still probably the hardest game, but Uni Blues, when we played them at Uni, were fantastic. I thought so. They're pretty similar to last year, starting slow and coming good again. They were really impressive. I thought their midfield, considering the outs they had, was really super.
And your own season, mate? How you finding that?
It's been a bit more consistent. Probably haven't had the best, as good of games, but probably more consistency across the board.
How long have you been running with a long sleeve jumper for?
It was the first week on the weekend, and
what are we doing here? The long sleeve.
I didn't mind it. I might go with it again this
You're
week.
kidding me. You can't be going to long sleeve jumper.
Long sleevers are good.
Do you cop anything for that?
Nah, I probably should have copped it for the boots I wore on the weekend.
Yeah, they were very loud boots.
Couldn't find my boots all week, so I had to go with the training, which was a bit disappointing because they don't look great.
No, they look fantastic, particularly when you're bombing goals from 55 plus 60, was it?
Nah, we'll go 55.
Josh, thanks for coming in.
Nah, thanks for having me.
Good luck for the rest of the year as well to the Tigers.
Yeah, let's hope we can stay up.
Thanks, mate.
No worries.
Josh Cowan there. I'm back with all the best use of social, the big questions, and best and worst case scenario after this.
Anytime is the right time to get fit at Anytime Fitness. Access over 400 gyms across the country 24/7 and discover why more Australians train at Anytime Fitness than any other gym. Go online and register now for your free 7-day pass and feel something better.
We're back on the Tragics. Time now to take a look at what we call the fun part of the show, Nick.
We love it.
Best use of social media is always a good one to kick us off. What was your take from the weekend?
Now, mine's a bit different. It's not exactly social media, but I was looking at the matchup between Hawthorn Amateur Football Club and Richmond Central at Kevin Bartlett Reserve. And I thought, I want to get a little bit of history on Kevin Bartlett Reserve. Obviously an iconic venue named after the first ever VFL AFL player to play 400 games, a superstar for Richmond. So I thought I'd just read about it and read the history of it. And this is what I found. And it's up on your screen right now. The Wikipedia says, Aaron Downey Reserve is an Australian soccer ground in Burnley and is the home of Richmond Soccer Club. It has a capacity of 5,000. The ground is named after Aaron Downey, the Hawthorn ranger and brother of Croc, who hasn't had a handball since under 11s. Collingwood City is also based at the ground, but no one cares about Collingwood City. So I have found out who has got on there and changed that bio. None other than Danny Priest from Hawthorn Amateur Football Club. Got on there, taken the mickey out of one of the boys down there. It has been changed back, so you're not going to see it there now.
So it's back to referencing Kevin Bartlett.
But yeah, back to the iconic.
It has a Wikipedia page. I remember back when I was really young, when Wikipedia first came out, we tried to create Wikipedia pages for a few mates at school. But apparently you needed to have a bit of notoriety before you could have a Wikipedia page.
But apparently not a lot goes into it now. They're just giving away
fair
ideas.
Enough. My best use of social, I'm still applauding the clubs for getting behind their players and their teams on the weekend, but I'm going to have a little dig here as well. We showed the Hollyoak mark from OMs at the start of the show. Brilliant mark, here it is again. But the tweet that accompanied that, or at the timing of that, was the biggest, Disco Hollyoak has just taken the biggest mark Elstey Park has ever seen. Now for a start, Elstey Park,
yeah,
I'm questioning the use of Elstey rather than Elsternwick Park. But I'm also questioning the biggest mark I've ever seen. It didn't take me long to dig back through the archives, back to 2010, this brilliant hanger in the goal square from Marsland, player I don't know the name of, but brilliant mark in the goal square. So just be mindful, don't throw too much mayo on your tweet when you're doing that. Second use of don't throw too much mayo on, Old Scotch on the weekend against Old Brighton, playing at the college. Harry Lowell snaps a goal to put Scotch 18 points up. Here it is here, kicks the goal. The accompanying tweet at the time, Larry, who the Cardinals obviously call Harry, Larry snaps, tells his opponent how good he is. Well, as you see from the vision, I didn't see Harry go up to a single opponent there.
Where?
So I'm not sure what they're playing at. I'm liking the enthusiasm of the social media people who are covering the games.
Gets us up and about.
Certainly, I was immediately on it on Twitter on the weekend thinking that this could be great vision for the show. But it just let us down a little bit. But we're going to call out too much mayo. Right, on to the quick questions. Nick, you better open the bowling for us.
I will, Ken. Win number 1, Kickstarter a resurgence for both Eltham Collegians and Latrobe.
We forgot to mention this at the top of the show. Congratulations to the Eltham Turtles and Latrobe University winning their first games of the season. Great results. I don't think it's going to kickstart a resurgence, though. What it does, though, is gets players that are playing at those clubs giving their time to come back next year. I know a number of guys, actually in the northern suburbs, that didn't necessarily have any connection to Eltham College, but are now pulling on the boots in their twos and running around. So a few of my brother-in-laws have had a few games playing in the Elton twos. So great to see the support the club's getting and the support the VAFA and everyone else has given those two clubs to get numbers to those clubs. Right, in the B to D Div 4 team, Nick, who's your lock for playing in that side?
I've got two. Charlie Dillon, our boy from Parkdale Vultures. We're a big fan of him, and he's kicking goals from the midfield. I think he'll line up in the centre, and I know that he's interested in playing. He wants to play. And Nick Ebinger's the other one, just come off a VFL list at Williamstown and now playing for the CYs. Obviously this year he'll be hopefully lining up out of the goal square. Lenny, we spoke about it earlier in the show. Will Old Brighton hold on?
Hold on to what? They're spot in the four? Yeah,
Finals.
Well, they should. They really should. They've got 8 wins at the moment, but I've looked at the fixture. I see them winning 1, possibly 2 games in the last 7 games. Now, particularly if these young guys that are out of the side don't return from their suntan trips. They've got St Bees Mentone next week at home, which I'm going to say is a win at this stage, but given the players that are out at the moment, maybe it's not a win. OM's away, that's a loss. D-Lar away, loss. Old Trinity at home. D-Lar will need to win as well. That's it, at Waverley. Old Trinity at home, well, if the T's are flying, that could be a tough game as well, but I'm putting that down as a maybe win. Collegians away, loss. St Kevin's at home, loss probably, unless St Kevin's are resting in round 17 before finals. And Old Zabs away at Toorak Park in the last game of the year. Zabs could be trying to avoid relegation. That is a massive game. I'm putting that as a loss as well.
Is that as big a change of tune as we've seen? Last week we were talking about
to be fair, we get a lot wrong here on the Tragics.
We do. We just got to cover ourselves from.
And I wrote off Old Brighton before the start of the season, so I'm happy to be proven wrong. But you got to stick your neck out sometimes.
Yeah,
on the show.
absolutely.
Nick, right back at you. The game result in Premier B of Beaumaris beating Caulfield Grammarians, did that determine 4th spot?
I think it has. I absolutely think it has. I think Beaumaris will now finish 4th. They're a game clear of Caulfield, but they're on a 3-game winning streak, and Caulfield are on a 3-game losing streak. They lost to Haileybury last week, who we know Haileybury have it over them at the moment, and have for the last 2 years. But I don't see Caulfield getting back out of this slump.
Around 15, 16, 17, Beaumaris finished with St Bernard's, Carey, Blacks. And then they've got Old Haileybury, who could be fighting to avoid relegation in round 18.
Yeah, tough
so
games.
they could lose their last 4 going into finals over Beaumaris. So the gap will separate between now and then. Caulfield in the next couple of weeks have got Carey, Blacks and Bernards in the next few weeks as well. So it's tough. It's going to be tough, but it could change. It could close in really quickly at the end.
Well, that's how tough it is when you've got 3 absolutely dominant teams, though, isn't it? And then you've got a couple, then the rest.
Well, Carey would challenge on the weekend, so they're maybe not going as well as they thought they might be. Right, best case, worst case scenario, quickly to wrap up the show.
Best case scenario, July 7. There are no injuries to potential Beta Div 4 Big V players this weekend. So at 3/4 time, if you're up, this is what I'm putting out to coaches. If you're up, Charlie Dillon, Nick Ebinger, Michael Culliver, whoever else is in line to play Beta Div 4, just bench him, rest him, just let him have a little bit of a go, because we want him playing on that bye weekend.
Okay, my best case scenario is Caitlin Greiser at Melbourne Uni manages to kick straight on the weekend. She again was amongst the behinds with set shots here. You can see if she does, she'll kick 10. They got the fields this weekend, so she's a star, Caitlin Greiser, and hopefully she manages to straighten up and kick a bag of 10, because it'd be amazing if she did. Worst case scenario? Worst
case scenario, Old Brighton lose to St Bedes 1 week after I've claimed them as a shoe-in for the top 4. So they really need to bounce back after the weekend. Harry Hill should come back, and hopefully a couple of others.
Bit worried about Old Brighton. They're my worst case as well. I'm worried that some of these guys that are off in Europe find love over there and they don't return back for the second half of the season, or in Bali, where a few of them are at. It's been a great show.
It's been fantastic.
We'll catch you again next week on The Tragics.